Greetings my saplings, in today's video we will be discussing the Yeezy 350 V2 ZYON. To be specific, like always in these how to cop guides, we will be mentioning some release info, how to cop them, and of course like always, some resale predictions. Kicking it off with the release info, these will be releasing July 18th in a full family size run after a delay. Men's pairs will be $220, preschool $160, and toddler $140 as usual. Stock is very high on these luckily, however it is certainly outweighed by the demand for these. In fact, some even refer to these as the Turtle Dove 2.0. We'll discuss more of that towards the resale predictions portion of the video, but for now, let's discuss how to cop these. Let's talk about how you could get your hands on a pair of these Yeezy 350 V2 ZYONs, whether it's for personal use or for resale purposes. So let's start with the easiest way to cop, the way that a vast majority of you guys are likely going to be copying from, and you could actually get started on right now, and that is through the Adidas App raffle. So unfortunately, that means Adidas won't be dropping online at 10 a.m. Eastern time like they did on the Yeezy 700 MNVN, but the good news is, even though it's a raffle, you could still exploit this drop as well. It's very similar to how you could exploit the sneakers draws as well. So essentially, your goal is to enter in as many accounts as possible into this raffle. There's no 10-minute time window though. You could essentially take as long as you want until it closes in a couple of days at least. The only unfortunate thing is that to make more accounts, you need to verify that account with another phone number, and to do that, you need different phone numbers, of course. So what you guys can do is you can reach out to a friend or a family member and ask them to use their phone number and just forward you a code if they don't happen to have an Adidas account already. Hypothetically, if you're looking for a mass amount of pairs, if you're looking to cop a lot of these ZYONs, the Adidas app is certainly going to be a great way to do it. Or hypothetically, just if you want a good chance of copying one and you don't have a lot of friends to go off and use their phone numbers for, you could also feel free to purchase accounts from my site TARS. The links for there will be in the description below. Now, although that is certainly the biggest raffle, there will be certainly a vast amount of stock there, there still are going to be many other raffles that you could sign up for. In fact, I'm going to tweet out a list like I usually do on my Twitter, KeithAdam10, so feel free to give me a follow on there for things of this nature or even more urgent updates. And of course, to go along with that, feel free to subscribe and enable post notifications just to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases this year. But with that out of the way, let's get to the real fun, and that's the online drop. So today we're actually going to be starting with the US drops. Unfortunately, a large majority of US drops when it comes to Yeezy 350s are at 7 a.m. Eastern time, so this does mean you're going to have to set your alarms, you're going to have to get up early, or if you're on the West Coast, you might even pull an all-nighter if you're about that. And if you really want to get up early, at 6 a.m. Eastern time, Dover Street Market London E-Flash will likely be dropping, and they'll be shipping worldwide, so you could give that a shot too. But I'm just going to warn you guys now, it's extremely unlikely that you're going to be able to cop without a monitor at least, or without a bot. Personally, I don't really think it's worth your time if you don't have any of those resources, but feel free to give it a try if you like waking up early anyway. Anyway, at exactly 7 a.m. Eastern time, this is where the chaos starts. The first thing you're going to want to focus on, like usual, like I mentioned in these how to cop guides, you want to focus on the first come first serve sites. There's no need to focus on the sites with queues at 7 a.m. Eastern time because you can always just check them right after the first come first serve drops are over. What you should do is prepare them in advance, and we'll go over which ones exactly those are, but in the meantime, at exactly 7 a.m. Eastern time, I suggest that you focus your attention on Hibbett. And some tips regarding Hibbett would be to use your mobile device and Apple Pay. That will be the most efficient checkout for you. Then, right after Hibbett sells out, whether or not you were able to cop or not, then I would suggest shifting your attention to foot sites. Although foot sites aren't exactly first come first serve, it's less about speed and more about persistency. You're going to get a lot of errors. It's going to tell you it's out of stock a lot of times, even though it's really not. The key is just constantly spamming the add to cart button, just continuing trying to add to cart, whether it's on the site and also the apps. You could be trying both at the same time because sometimes one will work and sometimes one doesn't. Stock is absolutely massive on these, like I mentioned before, and that means proportionally it's going to be massive on foot sites as well. So even if you're deep into the drop, like 45 minutes in, or it's getting close to 8 a.m. Eastern time, I would honestly still continue trying. It's likely still going to be in stock until you need to start shifting your your focus to other sites, I would just keep on trying until it's completely out of stock and you can't click any sizes. Now, in the midst of trying to add to cart on foot sites, what you should be doing is periodically checking your queues that you are in. That would be for Finish Line, JD Sports, and also DSG at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Those are the 7 a.m. Eastern Time queues, but there's going to be more queue drops at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll talk about those in a second. So periodically, while you're trying to add to cart on the foot sites, you should just be checking to see if you've gotten through, and when you do get through, then you should try to check out. Now, I don't exactly suggest using the multiple people jig for Finish Line and JD Sport because they started to IP ban very heavily on the Smoke Gray drop. They've always banned pretty heavily where you could come to the point where you could use around 3 Chrome users and be okay, but on this one, people were just opening one tab and still getting banned. So if you do hypothetically get banned even with just one tab, what I would suggest as a solution is to use your hotspot on your phone. Also clear your cookies. Now, although some of those drops may still be going on as we approach 8 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll also be seeing some Shopify drops at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, and if you happen to go for them, it's not really going to hinder your progress on the other sites. Like the queue, you've already been in there for an hour. It's not really going to make a difference. So one thing I would suggest at least giving a try would be Undefeated at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Although I will be honest with you, it's going to be extremely difficult to cop without any exterior resources like a monitor or a bot for Undefeated. But regardless, you're going to be awake anyway, so might as well give it a shot, right? The main thing I would suggest for Undefeated, or really any sites, but mainly Undefeated, because you're required to have it, would be to make sure you're signed into your account on your browser beforehand, and then you could just search Yeezy 350 if you don't have access to a monitor, and just refresh that at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Try to add to cart as soon as possible. Try to solve that checkpoint captcha as soon as you can. Then at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, the drops should definitely be wrapped up by then for the 7 a.m. Eastern Time drops. It'll only be a couple of Shopify sites. Usually it's Social Status, A Ma Maniere, maybe APB Store too. There might be some others, but we'll have to wait until stores announce that, of course. But regardless, if you had to choose one at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, I would say choose Social Status because occasionally A Ma Maniere and the others do happen to load out of stock. Again, this is another one you're not going to have a good shot at copying at, but you're going to be awake anyway, so might as well give it a shot. Then at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, it gets a little more fun again, just like 7 a.m. Eastern Time. We will have some additional Shopify first come first serve, so obviously at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the dot, that's where you want to be focusing. If I had to choose my top 3 for you guys to try on this drop for ones to expect to be dropping, if Concepts announced for 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Concepts would be a good choice. DTLR already has them on their calendar. That would be a good choice as well. And finally, Kith as well. Especially if you are in a group and you have access to an early link, Kith would definitely be a great option to go for manually. Now, after those sell out, which will just be a couple of minutes after the queue, then you could shift your attention to the waiting room drops, the queue drops, those of which would include Yeezy Supply. Obviously, Yeezy Supply is the most important, most stock there. Then in addition to there, we will also be seeing Snipes and YCMC. Obviously, you should be checking your Chrome users for those other 2 sites as well. However, I would prioritize Yeezy Supply. You should make sure you're focusing on there. And one thing I also want to mention, just in case anyone didn't see my Yeezy 700 MNVN video, I would highly suggest checking that out if you're interested in going for Yeezy Supply or even Adidas on future waiting room drops. It's something that you do in addition to the multiple people jig. I would suggest checking it out if you do have some time. It's certainly going to improve your chances of passing queue in comparison to us normally not doing this at all. I'm not going to go over it again in this video just because I just mentioned it. I don't want to bore you guys. For those of you who have already seen that, let's continue with the other stuff now. So now finally, while you're waiting in queue over there, you could also periodically try to add to cart on Shoe Palace. Even when everything's out of stock, usually Shoe Palace is still in stock. So you could continue to keep trying throughout the day if you do have some free time. It's extremely frustrating. I'm just going to give you a warning. But obviously, if you do have free time, might as well try and make some money, right? And then comes 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Dover Street Market New York E-Flash should be dropping, but just like I mentioned for Dover Street Market London, if you don't have a bot or at least a monitor, I really don't think you have a good chance of copying, but you could give it your best effort since you're not going to really have anything else to do anyway, so might as well give it a shot. Anyway, those are the drops that are going to be shipping to the US. Now going to the drops that are only shipping to Europe. Obviously, you guys could go for Dover Street Market London as well, but now going on to the drops that are only shipping to Europe, majority of stores are going to be releasing through raffles, those of which, of course, I will post on my Twitter. Unfortunately, Foot Locker hasn't put on their release calendar that they will be dropping as of yet. However, it's certainly possible that they do add it late, so if they do add it, that will be certainly one of your best chances to cop manually off of. Fortunately, Foot Locker drops have been absolutely atrocious for the majority of Europe. There are a select few regions though that have been pretty decent because of the recent changes though, so feel free to give it a shot if they do announce it. I'm hoping they make a late announcement or something, or add it to the calendar. You could also feel free to try Snipe, Soulbox, a like store. They will all likely be dropping, but unfortunately, those sites get botted extremely hard. Soulbox used to be somewhat possible, especially if they would just shock drop it, but unfortunately, a couple of months ago, they did switch to Demandware, making it near impossible to cop manually now. But again, you can feel free to give it a shot. It's not going to hurt you. And then, although Mesh do raffles primarily now, unfortunately, they do normally do restocks, especially when it comes to Yeezys. Yeezys usually restock a ton on Mesh, and that is normally Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, which would be 4 a.m. CEST, so you might have to set your alarm for that. And I'm mentioning 10 Eastern Time Tuesday night because they do ship to the US as well, and I do think even with the high shipping and the high retail, you'll still be able to make some profit off of these. And last but certainly not least, aside from all the online drops we just talked about, definitely want to make sure you sign up for the foot apps. If you want any more information regarding foot apps, I highly suggest you watch my Smoke Gray video. I'm not going to go over it again just because I don't want to bore anyone who's watching. But anyway, with how to cop out of the way, let's move on to the resale predictions. So starting it off regarding the men's pairs, all sizes should be profitable. Yes, that means we're going full throttle. We're going all the way in. No matter what size you see, you're going to want to cop it in the men's pairs. Obviously, like usual, smaller sizes will be better. That sizes under 8, those tend to be the best. But regardless, you want to be going for all sizes. For first come, first serve drops, I'm even going to focus on the larger sizes. Even though they're less profit, I'm taking a conservative approach, and I'm saying I have a better chance at least getting something if I go for those larger sizes. So that's my personal strategy. And then when it comes to the preschooler and toddler pairs both, although sale volume is not really too high when it comes to these, they should still be profitable at lunch money at the very least. Just make sure when you do purchase these, you are okay with being slightly patient when selling, because the more patient you are when it comes to these low sale volume type sneakers, you're going to make a lot more money. But anyway, that will conclude it for today. Again, for the Adidas App raffle, if any of you guys do need accounts, you can feel free to purchase them on my site, TARS. The link for that will be in the description below. Also, subscribe and enable post notifications to stay 100% updated on all hyped releases this year and going forward. With that though, feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy the video or you perhaps learned a thing or two. With that, I'll see you guys later. Good luck, of course. I think you'll be okay though. Stock is luckily very high.